If I lose, I lose. If I win, I win.
No, I like that, but I would do that for something like Google or Microsoft, you know, like where like, you know, they're going to be there for a while. You might not make a 10x return, but you know it's going to be around for a long time. Or maybe something like Disney if you want a little bit higher return, where it's like a company's going to last another 100 years.
So what's going on with Disney right now? It's the Immigrant Unfiltered podcast with Hamza Ali. So you're going to write a book. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so my plan is to write a children's book about finance. You know, like I have a 4-year-old daughter, and you know, I feel like there's really nothing out there. There's no children's book about money, about finance, right? And I make videos about finance. I love finance, and I try to explain this stuff to my kid. And I'm like, maybe I should just put this into a book. So a buddy of mine, we're going to co-author it, and we're working on it right now. Hopefully, it'll come out sometime in the next 3 or 4 months. But we're working on it right now. It's been pretty fun to try to like try to explain money to like a 4 or 5-year-old, you know?
And that's the target demographic. Like your audience is literally your kid.
My audience is my kid, and then hopefully if it's a good enough book, I can then try to tell other dads and parents to try to, you know, buy a book about money and try to, you know, explain to their kids the importance of money at a young age.
So you're working on this, explain it. So like A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 10. And then all of a sudden, this is what, you know, money looks like. This is how you make it. Like, explain, like, what?
So I think that we're approaching it a couple different ways. One version of the book is going to be like the journey of a dollar, right? Okay. And it could be like a nice illustration. That could be like step by step of like, you know, Sally goes to buy something from the toy store, and like that dollar goes to the, you know, that store, and that store then goes to, you know, buys toys from a manufacturer and things like that. So it's going to be kid friendly, but kind of showing like how the dollar spreads across the economy.
Okay, that makes a little more sense, I think. When I think of a 4 or 5, you know, 6-year-old, I'm sure there's going to be revisions. There's going to be more like, you know, intricacies, and maybe is there some technology that's going to come into play with this? What are you thinking?
Well, the technology for illustrations, we're not sure if we're going to get someone to illustrate it, hire an illustrator, try to do it ourselves, or maybe use some of these generative AI tools that they have that you can just like use them to make all these illustrations.
So funny you say that. I actually saw a video by Hermosi where he lists every AI that he used over the course of like the past 2 weeks. Okay. And basically what he did is he told his entire team that I want everything in my business to be handled by AI, and he jotted down like 7 different apps. Yeah. And basically what that did is it allowed him to create SOPs completely human-free, full AI. So he had his social media completely posted and edited and whatever through AI. There was this app, or there was a software that mimicked his voice, that would learn his voice. Wow. So he spoke into like a mic for like 30 seconds, and it mimicked his voice. And what he could do is anytime someone called him, it would say, hey, whatever the name is, and then keep going on with the script. And it would be like as if he was talking. Yeah. And it was pretty awesome. Like I looked at that, and I think I sent it out to my team as well. I'm like, guys, we need to be on this today. Why are we not on this? We have too many humans.
I have seen those technologies now. Like a lot of people are using them to make videos of like all these parody videos, like using like the voice of like LeBron James, and he's like, you know, having a fake conversation with like Michael Jordan and things like that. So I think it's really cool. I mean, I was thinking about using like ChatGPT and all these AI tools to write the book itself. And surprisingly, like, those tools just aren't that great. I mean, they're good for certain use cases, but I think they do miss the mark when it comes to like writing a children's book. At least I couldn't make it work.
So how much have you used ChatGPT?
I've used it mostly as like a summary tool, right? Okay. Like I'll like paste an article and be like, hey, give me the 5 biggest takeaways and things like that. I've also used it to like brainstorm. So like I will like copy a paragraph of a video that I want to do, a script that I want to do, and then I'll ask it to rewrite it into like to make it a little bit funnier or make it more casual. So I've kind of used it more as inspiration, but never really like the final product. I've never gotten something from ChatGPT where I'm like, I'm gonna say this word for word, but it's always inspired something, which is always good, because like staring at a blank sheet of paper is like the most terrifying thing for a creative, right?
Yep. I told you that I was going to do a little more long form. Yeah. The way I'm able to do that is because of ChatGPT. So what I did is I YouTubed flex space, right? Because that's the space I want to dominate. And I realized that I wasn't the first couple of videos. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I am king of flex space. I need to be on page 1. So I went to ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, give me the most trending flex-based titles, and it spit out 100 titles, 100 topics that I could use. And so now I plan on using them, and whatever the content is, my idea is to use those lines that ChatGPT gave me to come front and center on FlexSpace and be the number one person. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. Like that's a perfect example of using AI to like inspire some ideas, but now you're going to go and execute on them. Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredible. Like there's always improvements in this stuff. Like Bing just released this AI tool, which I've seen some really interesting and kind of scary stuff that like Bing is coming out with when it comes to their AI stuff. I think it's just going to make, everyone's worried about like everyone's going to lose jobs and things like that. I think it's going to be the opposite. In fact, I think it's just everyone's going to become more efficient using AI, right? It's instead of being able to, you're going to be able to get more things done, and especially in the creative field, it's just going to make you more creative. It's going to be like a superpower. It's kind of like the calculator, what it was for like math back in like, like the 50s or whatever. It's just going to make people more efficient.
Yeah, I think it's time that, we did things faster. I mean, I get frustrated all the time that things are not being done fast enough. We need more efficiency. We need more efficiency. And here it is. And now everybody's afraid. It's like, well, this is what we were working towards. Well, let's use it. Let's learn how to But I found it interesting that now he wants $20 for it, $20 a month.
It's a bargain. I think it's a bargain. I mean, I think that like most people can probably find enough value to pay the $20. I think if it was like $100, $200, $300, it'd be a little bit more expensive, or it'd be a little bit out of reach for most people. But for $20, I mean, I haven't upgraded yet, but I'm honestly thinking about it because it's just, you can use it for so many things.
Yeah, I just thought it was quick. It was like, okay, here you go, try this for a week. They gave you a little bit of a dose. Everybody was like, I had people in my office that are not tech savvy come up to me and they're like, what are you doing on ChatGPT?
Yeah.
We want to do something on ChatGPT. And we're doing it, and they were doing it, and it was just so interesting. And as soon as it became this $20 a month thing, they're all like, you know what, it's fine. We can live without it. But
That's
of course,
funny.
I still have it. I still use it. And it's pretty interesting.
I actually don't think that AI is a good business, though. I think a lot of people that want to make AI startups, I just don't think it's a good business because it's going to be a race to the bottom. Like, right? It's like $20 a month. Like, everyone's going to try to get to like, it's a utility at some point. It's just gonna be a race to the bottom. It's like cloud computing, right? Like you're gonna have a bunch of maybe 3 or 4 big winners, but they're all gonna try to undercut prices, and then it's just gonna be a race to the bottom.
Get more people in and try to make them do things that they don't want to do. It's funny you say that. I heard that in Texas, like we're not allowed to use those 3D filter, like whatever it is, on the apps because it's not allowed by law, by regulation here in Texas. So like, for example, there's features that incorporate AI on TikTok that filter your face out so that you can be this AI within TikTok, but we're not allowed to have them here in Texas for whatever reason.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's like the first time I found out about it was a couple of days ago, actually, when I was talking about these 3D images that you could create of yourself. And they're like, yeah, did you know that there's filters that you don't have access to because you're in Texas? I was like, what, really? And then I check it out. And I'm like, what?
Wow. Okay. Well, good. I guess it has to do with like they don't want you scanning your face or something.
It's just regulation.
Okay. Well,
it's just political at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
seems that
we
way.
we don't want you to do things that are not allowed, whatever it is. So, okay, let's start from the very beginning. So obviously I follow you. I've been following you for a long time. I reached out to you. You've come to my house. We've chatted a little bit. But really today, I guess what I wanted to get into is like, what is Admani Explorer? Like, how did you come up with that concept, and what built it to where, you got verified, and then you have all this knowledge, and people now look up to you for stock tips, and how did that all come to be? Because from my understanding, your background is very different.
Yeah.
And so this is very interesting.
Yeah. So where it all started. So my background is civil engineering, right? I graduated back in 2014, University of Texas, in civil engineering, was working as a civil engineer since I graduated, right? So the way it started was in 2019, October of 2019, I downloaded an app called TikTok. And back then, not many people knew about TikTok. And the reason I downloaded it was actually because I think I saw Gary Vee talk about it. He's like, yeah, this is a new platform. It's coming up. And I've always wanted to be like one of those first people that is always first on an app or first on a product, right? So I'm like, oh, let me download it, let me check it out. And it was a cool app. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like it's a fun app. It reminded me of Vine a little bit from back in the day. And I just started to create content on it. I was just like, this is kind of fun. Let me just try some videos out.
And what did you create?
It was like finance videos. Okay. It was just like, some of them were kind of silly. I started off by just doing stupid jokes and here and there. But I really found my niche when I started making funny sketches and skits about finance and tech. So the very first video that went viral was I did a sketch about Facebook trying to acquire Snapchat, which was like something that happened in like 2013 or whatever. And it was like a funny little skit. Like, and I played the characters like Mark Zuckerberg and Evan Spiegel, who's like the CEO of Snapchat. And that video, I posted it. And you know, when I made the video, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cringe. Like, you know, like I don't know if I should post this. But the reason I actually ended up posting was because no one knew about TikTok. None of my friends knew about TikTok. None of my like family members knew about TikTok. So I didn't have like any like feeling of like, oh, what if they like laugh at me? What if my family and friends laugh at me? I'm just gonna post it, whatever. Like, who cares? And I posted it. And I woke up the next morning, and I think the video had like 100,000 views. And I'm like, oh, whoa! First time I've ever like felt that like adrenaline rush of like a video going viral. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then a couple of days later, I'd do another video. I can't remember. I think it was about like something about the financial crisis or something. And like that video started getting over 100,000 views. And it was just from there, it just started to build. And again, I had no plans of like quitting my job and doing it full time. I was just making funny videos, building a following. And then the pandemic happened in March, and then like TikTok blew up and everyone knew about TikTok. And then from there, like the account, you know, like the video started getting more and more views. And yeah, you know, I just kept making videos. 2021 was crazy. Like that's when the GameStop stuff happened. That also accelerated the followers because everyone was interested in investing. And by the end of 2021, I knew that I had like a potential to make it into a career. So then I quit my job at the start of 2022. And when I say quit, I was still working. I still do like maybe 10 to 12 hours a week as a civil engineer part-time, but my full-time job is being a content creator, being a TikToker, and making finance videos on TikTok.
So explain you quit a full-time job with, I don't know, 200,000-300,000 followers and decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And what's the money like in that?
I mean, it really depends. So like the dirty secret is like, it really, really fluctuates, right? Like I've had months where I've made over $20,000, $25,000 in a month. And I've literally had some months where I've made $0, right? So as a short form content creator, a lot of the money comes from brand deals, right? So brand deals are very cyclical. It's very up and down. It's very dependent on the markets. So I'm just, you know, if there's a month where I've signed 2 or 3 brand deals, and then that could be a really good month. And then sometimes there's months where I have no brand deals, right? So it's cyclical, but when the money can be very, very good because, you know, finance is a niche where it's a high paying niche. A lot of finance companies are trying to acquire new customers, especially younger customers. And so they're going to where the younger customers are, which is TikTok. And so they're willing to pay a premium to attract those eyeballs. So it was a good, you know, like I said, 2021 was a good year. 2022 was a good year. And then by the latter half of 2022, things started to slow down. We're seeing a slowdown in the market started to crash. We're seeing a slowdown in tech layoffs, things like that. So now a lot of marketing spend is being cut back. But I think it'll come back eventually.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, the market has slowed down. Finance stuff has slowed down. I don't know what the stock market's looking at, but you do. So what is that looking at? What are you seeing in the market? What are we looking at? Are we in a recession? I think we are, but nobody's talking about it, or at least the people that I'm surrounded by are not talking about it. And then are we going up from here, down from here, staying here? Where are we?
Well, so predictions are tough, man, because you can make 8 predictions and be wrong every time because it's just so unpredictable on what's going to happen. I don't think that we're in a recession. Like I just don't see it. If you look at the job numbers, the economy continues to add jobs at an insane pace. Unemployment is at the lowest it's been in 50, 60 years. Those aren't typical metrics of a recession, right? Even the housing market now is starting to pick back up again. When we had the slowest housing market for a decade, you know, at the latter half of last year, now things are starting to pick back up again. So I don't think that we're in a recession. I think that it's a very, some sectors are feeling worse than others, right? Like tech is feeling a bit of a slowdown, layoffs, things like that. But the reason for that is because a lot of these tech companies hired so many employees during the pandemic. I mean, some of these companies still have a higher headcount today than they did at the start of 2021. So yes, they're doing layoffs, but there's still a lot of people working for tech companies.
Yeah, and those compensations are just crazy.
It's
Even
insane.
With the layoffs, they're getting like full year's pay basically.
Some of these severance packages are 6-9 months. I mean, it's very lucrative, right? But if you look at I've been traveling a decent amount this year, and if you go to like airports, restaurants, things like that. I mean, you don't feel a recession. The consumer spending is still very, very strong. So I really think that it's a very the recession is only in particular industries. I think it's tech, and I think some banking is also feeling that a little bit. But I think, I mean, like civil engineering, fine. Construction, I'm fine. Like, yes, it's not as hot as it was.
Yeah.
But
we're starting to feel it.
Yeah, but it's still definitely not to the point. It's not like 2008. You know, like I remember 2008. I was 17 years old. I remember that. It doesn't feel like that at all. And so if people say that we're in a recession, I just don't get that vibe.
Okay. So I wasn't here in 2008.
Okay.
I was in Dubai.
Okay.
And 2008 in Dubai, I can tell you that so many people fled the countries. We had supercars that were dumped all over the street, right? I remember all of those days. I was a realtor. So I literally sold things to people, and then all of a sudden people started disappearing, not making payments. And I remember briefly, there was a time when I was driving in front of Dubai Airport on Airport Road, and that's in the Garhoud area. And I was the only car on the street. Like literally,
Wow.
I was driving and I was the only car on the street. And I was like, I've never seen anything like this before, you know? And it was crazy. And a lot of people just fled because
Right.
over there, you don't make it, you flee. You know,
Absolutely.
you leave, you get out of here.
Yeah.
You go back wherever you know, and then you come back, I guess, when the market gets better. But this is definitely not that. And
Right.
for me, it's a different experience because everybody here is a local. Like everybody here is a U.S. They have really nowhere to go. They
Right.
still have needs. They still need to spend money. They need to buy homes. Now, I can tell you, from the flex standpoint, believe it or not, we're seeing more demand in our flex space.
Wow.
And it's weird because, we have companies now that have downward pressure, headwinds, and they need to downsize. So where do they go, right? If they go from heavy industrial to light industrial. So not only are they creating pressure on us, we have added pressure from the new businesses trying to get in.
Yeah.
And so this happened to me in 2016 as well.
Okay.
2016, we went through the oil and gas crisis here in Houston.
Right.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Like I remember at that time, my company was hiring, and we were getting CVs for entry-level positions from like CEOs of companies.
Yeah.
Like,
I got laid off in 2015, 2016. Yeah.
there you go. So it was unbelievable, the amount of good talent for cheap that you could get. And we actually hired people, by the way, that then left us like a year later. 'Cause
Right.
They got to where they need to get to. But my point is that was one of the best years I ever had because we had the same thing. Everybody was downsizing. They were looking for 1-2 year leases. And then we had this added pressure from new businesses. And we had like the record year, you know. That's not happening right now. Right now, what I'm seeing is if the interest rates go any higher, so we're already at about 7% right now
Right.
for our construction loans. Not the worst thing, not the best thing. You know,
Yeah.
we got used to cheap money.
Yeah.
You know, and now when we see anything like over a 4, we're like,
Right.
we start, like taking out our calculators and we're like, oh man, that's an extra couple of grand a month. I don't
Right.
know. In the end of the day, it doesn't break the bank. It doesn't really impact our numbers over a 2-year period.
Right.
But it does hurt because we got used to it. I think it's going to take us a little while to get used to this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when interest rates are 5-6%, whatever they end up settling to, because I don't think they're going back unless we go full on like breakdown and then the government has to like do something about it.
Right.
But
Right.
I don't think that's where we're going. I think we're going to have to get used to that, happy medium. So it may go a little bit lower, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve, they're gonna keep raising rates because their main focus right now is inflation, right? I mean, as we talked about, inflation is a huge problem, and things are starting to get better, right? Like the numbers are starting to get better, but we're still not at the 2.5% target that the Federal Reserve has for their inflation. I think the latest number was at 6% or something. So there's still a long ways to go before we get to the 2% target. Now, most people think that we're going to get to that target by the summertime. I guess we'll see. But regardless, the fact that the unemployment rate is so low and jobs are continuing to be added to the economy gives the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell like the tools to keep raising up rates because they have two mandates. They're a dual mandate thing. They have two jobs. They got to keep unemployment low and they got to keep inflation low. Unemployment's low right now, so they have no hesitation when it comes to raising up rates. So that could mean that rates for homes and construction loans keep going higher. I think you're right. It's going to take a bit of a reset to like get used to this world of high interest rates, right? Like it's higher than what it was the last decade. But I think we're already starting to see that happen now. I think people are already starting to come to terms with it, especially in housing. So if you look at the housing numbers for January and February, I mean, we're looking at 6.5%, 7% interest rates, and people are trying to buy again, right? I think it took them Q4 of 2022 to be like, you know what? We're not going to see 4% for a while. People still need to buy houses. There's still a huge demand for houses. We're just going to have to eat the cost for the 6-7% rate and just buy a house. And you know, because the fact that job markets are still strong, people are earning more money. I think they're okay with that. I think that's why the economy continues to do pretty well. And I think that's the same case with construction and other industries. They're just going to get used to the interest rates and the high interest rates, and then they're going to keep spending money, and the economy is going to be fine.
I think we just got used to making too much money, and now we need to get used to making just a normal amount. You know?
Exactly.
So, do you think JP is doing a good job?
Honestly, I know it might be a controversial opinion, but I think he's doing a good job, man. I think Powell. It's so hard to be in that position. And it's so easy to just like judge someone.
And I think he's out soon, right?
I mean,
I think his term's over soon.
I don't know when his term is going to be over, but hopefully he gets to finish out his term and reach his targets of the 2.5% inflation. I mean, I think for the card that he was dealt with, I think he did a pretty solid job. I think the big mistake was they did not anticipate inflation being a problem early on, and they just kind of ignored it, calling it transitory, right? That was the big word, transitory, right? And I think that was his big mistake. But as soon as he identified that they screwed up there, what did he do? He just started jacking up rates, 75 basis points, 50 basis points, did not look back, did not care. And all the data is pointing to inflation getting back under control now. So I think he made one mistake, he corrected for it, and people are saying that we're probably headed for a soft landing now. Soft landing being like the economy doesn't have to crash hard for them to get back to a normal inflation rate. They can, the economy can kind of gradually get back to the rate that they want to get to without having some massive recession triggered. So I think all things said, I think he's doing a pretty decent job.
Yeah, I think he is. I actually think it's weird because the administration, I feel personally, is like not the best administration. But if you look at it from like an economic standpoint, it's actually like it's in a weird place to where we're feeling it, but we're not really feeling it yet, or it hasn't kicked in just yet.
Right.
Whatever we're supposed to feel. So I'm still like kind of thinking, because if the interest rates go any higher, I have this fear in the back of my mind that something's gonna break. But nothing's breaking. And it's because of unemployment. Just like you said, unemployment is not going anywhere. We're at the lowest levels. I'm hiring. Everybody I know is hiring.
Yep.
We're looking for talent.
Yep.
We can't find it. And so what do? There's a shortage, right?
Yep.
Unless they open up immigration reform and let us just bring everybody in.
We can talk about that forever. But I think the other thing that like you mentioned, obviously like unemployment is low, and consumer spending continues to be just so strong, right? And like the American economy is driven by consumer spending. So like that just continues to be a strong figure. Now, there are some concerning stats that are coming out, like we're seeing credit card debt reach record levels and things like that. So that's kind of concerning. And maybe that's what ends up breaking or causing a bit of a minor recession. But as of right now, consumer spending continues to be strong. Hiring continues to be strong. And there's no signs of like an economic, like in 2008, there was like actual economic structural issues, right? Like banks were over leveraged, and like there was just so many problems in the economy, like the plumbings of the economy. That's not the case right now. Like the banks are not over leveraged. Like the only massive blowout we've had has been in crypto, and that's already been like a very speculative place anyways. So the actual traditional financial systems are working pretty well, and hopefully it continues to be that way.
So what are your thoughts on crypto? I'll tell you one thing. I sold all my crypto at a huge loss. Okay, so I had 300,000 invested in crypto. I think December, January, it was down to like 100, and I was like, you know what? It's too much work. It's too much headache. I'm out. And I had a small account in Coinbase.
Yeah.
I kept that one.
Okay.
And so that one's kind of steady Eddie. I think it has $50,000 or so in it. But
yeah.
I took a $200,000 loss just for peace of mind.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on crypto?
Man, I'm one of those people that like, I call myself like a crypto skeptic, right? Like I want to believe, I want there to be like this like revolutionary technology. I talked about like how I want to be first to everything. Like like I want this technology to work, but after a few years, man, like I'm also feeling the same way where like I just don't see a use case anymore. Like at least at this point in time, all crypto was good for was like, crypto is fun when the numbers go up, and it's not fun when the numbers go down. And everyone was in it for the numbers, to see their numbers go up. And there hasn't really been any actual use case, at least I haven't found. Now, I was also the same way as you. I got into the crypto a little bit early just because of just dumb luck, just buying, a few $1,000s worth of Ethereum back in like 2016, 2017, and seeing it ride high and crash. At this point, I'm just going to hold on to it. I'm just like, whatever, just let it ride.
Significant?
At one point it was. I think at one point I had more than 6 figures. I cashed out a little bit, like 20, 30,000, but most of it I'm just letting it ride. And, obviously there's some regret there, but if the technology turns into something, it'll be worth a lot of money. I don't know if it will at this point. I'm a little skeptical.
So Kathy Wood says Bitcoin's going to $1 million.
My God. Kathy Wood's job is to just make headlines, man. She is a brilliant marketer, all right? That's what she does. Like, her fund is down 75%, ARK Invest, but all she knows how to be in the headlines, and she knows how to attract attention. That's half the game nowadays, right? Like, you got to if people know who you are, you can probably get access to capital.
Yep, agreed. So I invested in ARK a long time ago when it was like almost at 100. And then I think it went to 100 and I cashed out. I was
nice.
Like, I'm out. I don't need to. And then I actually at that time eliminated, because, I had just sold my business. I went through this massive exit. I was bored. I didn't know what I was doing. So I did TikTok just like you. And the funny thing is, you mentioned TikTok earlier. I went through the same thing with my TikTok. So I remember TikTok launched, Gary Vee talked about it, and I downloaded the app. I ran to my kitchen. I still remember that day. I ran to my kitchen counter. My whole family was there. My mom, my sisters, everybody. I was like, guys, you need to download TikTok right now. And then I started doing these comedy skits. Okay. And they're still there on my... So if you scroll down enough, you'll get to see me dance. There's like comedy skits in there. And there's like, other like really weird random stuff. And same thing. Hundreds of thousands of views, millions of views at that point. And that was really when I was like, okay, I can do something. I can monetize this.
You're a TikTok dancer.
Yeah. So I could monetize this. And then I started talking about, out of all things, multifamily. I hate multifamily because I used to be in multifamily. And that was the only thing I knew that I was going to talk about, because I had exited multifamily and all of that.
Right.
And then I started talking about industrial and flex space and niche down, and kept niching and focusing and, and doing that. And really that has been like a journey in its own. Now we have like 4 channels that we're working on. And I think, to your point, the marketing brings in the dough, and that's what Kathy's doing. Yeah. Right? Bitcoin's going to hit $1 million. Immediate headline. Right. Yahoo News, first thing. Exactly. You know what I mean? From what I hear, I think she stepped down, in fact, as CEO of ARK Innovation Fund, of one of her major funds that she was running, because she's out there doing like a bunch of different things. But it's just so interesting how social media is just changing the game for everyone right now.
Yeah, I mean, we live in an attention economy, right? So attention is the most valuable thing. If people know who you are, if you can grab someone's attention, I don't think it's always a good thing, right? Because then you are in a world of like all these crazy hot take artists where like all they're trying to do is grab someone's attention, and 90% of the time what they're saying isn't even true. I think Kathy Wood is a perfect example of that. I think she actually probably is a very smart person, but she has to say all these ridiculous things to continue to keep the attention on her. And again, that's resulted in her so much inflow into her funds, and she makes a fat fee off of that. So she's playing the game perfectly.
Elon Musk.
Oh my God. Elon is like the perfect example. He bought Twitter just so he can keep that attention, because attention is everything right now. Right. So they're playing the game.
Thoughts on Tesla?
I mean, I've always been a Tesla hater, like not not the car. Okay. Well, the car I don't love either, but like the company. I just think it's massively overvalued. It has a lot of risk, particularly like the head of their company is someone who's so volatile, like Elon, right? Like you just don't know what he's gonna do day to day. So like it's key man risk. It's like a nerdy way of saying like if something happens to Elon, Tesla's in trouble, right? And so I think all those factors make me I've never invested in Tesla. I've actually shorted Tesla. It hasn't worked out because every time I try to short it, the stock goes up. I think I'm cursed or something. So I personally just think it's overvalued. I think there's gonna be too much competition. There's nothing, in my opinion, that sets them apart from like that makes them just the only player in town. Like once other people start entering into the industry, like how are they going to compete? I guess they have technology into their self-driving stuff. I think that self-driving cars are like never going to happen. So I'm just not bullish on that either. I don't think that's going to be a moat that that they can expect to like gain customers with. So once you remove like the cool branding of it, and I think they're already losing some coolness factor anyways over the last 2-3 years.
Because everyone else is coming in.
Exactly. So like now instead of now all the kids aren't talking about Teslas anymore. They got Lucids now. They got all these different EVs.
They got that Rivian truck.
Oh, Rivian's another one. Rivian's another.
My neighbor bought one.
Oh, nice.
It's crazy, man.
There we go.
The thing looks insane.
I've seen some pictures.
And the build quality is just unbelievable. Like, you cannot compare a Rivian truck to a Tesla.
Exactly.
You just can't.
If you're spending that much money on a car and you're seeing like panel widths and like gaps, I'm like, what is it? The build quality just isn't there, especially for like the premium price that you're paying. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly. But prices have gone down.
They had the price cuts at the start of the year, and yeah, it's worked brilliantly. It's resulted in a ton of sales for them. But I still think that once like the other polished high like luxury electric vehicles come into play, like once Mercedes figures out the strategy and other like Porsches and stuff like that, I think it's gonna be tough for Tesla to compete in that market, and so they're just gonna ultimately try to get like the $30,000 market. And again, all that competition is gonna come in, and once the cool factor is gone, it just what are you competing with?
You know who else is surprisingly good EV? Kia. Have you seen some of the Kia EV models?
I've seen Hyundais. I've never seen the Kias.
Hyundais. Yeah. I think that's what I was talking about. Bro, those cars are sick.
Yeah, the Ioniq. Yeah, it looks
the
nice.
Ioniq, exactly.
Yeah.
And the interior and the build quality. Apparently, they're like #1 sellers in some parts of the world right now, and they're beating Teslas and like everything else.
I mean, I believe it. And again, there you go. Like the competition's heating up. GM's getting into it. Ford is getting into it. The Mustang. I mean, there's just so many companies that are getting into it. And 5 years, the landscape's can be a lot different.
I think it's just going to be brands we don't even know. There's going to be like a bunch of new EV brands and we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies should try doing that as well. I think one of the reasons that Tesla like has this cool factor is like they're like the first American car maker in like 100 years. So like I think that's like adds to like the story of it, right? So
and they're profitable.
That's the one thing that they have right now. That's true. And that's the one thing that gets thrown back in my face right now is like, well, Teslas are profitable, unlike all these other EV, competitors entering into the market. Yeah, but Tesla wasn't profitable for a long time. So how much longer are they going to remain profitable until their competition catches up?
Yeah, the valuation doesn't make sense.
Right.
They are profitable. They have Elon, the brand ambassador, the king.
Yeah, for now. I mean, but he's crazy, man.
Yeah, but he is crazy. So what else are you looking at? Stocks, not financial advice, guys. But what are you looking at? What can we expect by the way, do you trade in the market?
I mean, I trade, but the thing is, like, I actually don't like being labeled as a stock guy, right? I think a lot of people assume because I make all these videos about stocks and stuff like that I'm trading all the time. I consider myself more to be like a market commentator, or mostly like macroeconomics, right? That's what I mostly enjoy, right? Like the macroeconomic stuff, and I also enjoy like the day-to-day corporate drama, right? Like, oh, this activist investor is trying to like come into Salesforce and like change their corporate structure. I like that stuff, but like the day-to-day valuations and things like that, I typically don't do that. Like most of my investments, 80% of them are just in index funds, right? Like SPY, QQQ, VOO, all the boring stuff. And then like I have like 20% of my fund, which is not my fund, just like my personal portfolio. I call my YOLO fund, where I like take high risk investment, like things like crypto, things like a lot of these growth stocks that we saw just get. Yeah, Palantir. Yeah, Palantir. Just like I'll just throw money at it. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it's fine. I'll buy some shares. Shares that I think have a high chance of super high returns. But again, that's only 20% of my portfolio. Okay. I'm not even doing those crazy like discount cash flow models that a lot of like these finance YouTubers and stuff do. I'm mostly focused on like the macro environment and trying to figure out like where is the overall macro environment going, and then what companies are going to take advantage of that. So like Meta, when it crashed last year, right, because of like weak numbers, I had a feeling that they were going to bounce back because their core business was strong. Bought some Meta stock. I wasn't doing some intimate like crazy analysis. I was just thinking, like common sense, big picture stuff. Right. Google right now, Google stock is getting crushed right now. Because Microsoft released this Bing AI. They think it's going to destroy Google's business, or Google's going to have to release their AI model, which is going to cannibalize their own business. I don't see it that way. I think it's going to take a long time before that happens. So I've been scooping up some Google stock because, their stock went down 7-8% because of this news. So I always try to like take advantage of overreaction in the market and just kind of add to companies that I'm bullish on for super long term.
Yeah, so no small or micro cap or nothing like that. Just small, opportunistic.
Yeah, sometimes I'll do like I like to like take some risks. Sometimes I'll play like earnings or like I'll buy some like call options of like around earnings of like, you know what, I think the stock will pop like 10%. Let me just see. But very, very small percent. And again, I know that's like kind of like gambling. It's like not even a great way to trade. It's a way that I learn.
Are you using any subscriptions for trading? Are you part of any groups or
No,
nothing? Just you yourself.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter's a great resource. I'll go on Twitter, like I'll search some stock takers. I'm like, okay, what's the deal with this company? I'll search stock takers, and there's a lot of very, very smart people on Twitter. And so you'll go to them and be like, okay, well, this person says this person says this, and then try to formulate an opinion that way. But I'm not really like part of any paid Discord servers or things like that now.
Okay. Well, I used to be part of this service. It was called T3 Live. I don't know if you heard of it. And it's pretty cool. They have like 7 or 8 different traders, and they're all like superstar traders. And I realized it just takes so much time.
Yeah.
And the thing is that their trades are live, but you can't copy them. So you actually have to go in and trade when they're trading in.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they're trading out. And let's say like you missed a trade, like you bought something when they bought and they sold, and you have to actually be looking at the screen to see how much they sold, because otherwise you don't know.
Right.
And let's say they sold three quarters of their position.
Yeah.
75% of their position, and you missed it for what you were eating a sandwich or what, or I was eating a sandwich right at the time.
Right.
And I missed it, and I come back and I'm like, oh, they're still holding the position. I'm good. And then they exit later on for loss or whatever, but they only lost on a very small amount, whereas I'm like losing on the entire. So I was like, oh man, this is something that needs like so much focus.
Right.
So even having those subscriptions, it's not always the best if you're not on it 24/7.
Right. I mean, that's true. And I've seen these like, paid Discord servers that also do the same thing where like you can copy their trades. I mean, look, I think that's why I think day trading, most day traders just lose money. Like it's so hard to make money day trading the markets. Like it's almost impossible. And
did you hear about the SEC fining like these 2 guys based out of Houston?
Yeah.
Because of that Discord server.
Yeah, I can go into that.
So those 2 guys, actually, one of them, PJ, whatever his name is actually in my car group.
Oh my God.
In my exotic car, I met him once, long time ago, at an airplane hangar out of all places, and he was a pretty cool guy. Like I was like, oh, I didn't even know what he did because I don't trade stocks in that way, right? And then one day in my car group, I see everybody's posting like, oh, or sort of like whatever, and I think he got fined like or jailed, or I don't even know what his story is. So go into that.
Yeah. So these guys, it's a group of 5 people. 2 of them are from Houston. They had a pump and dump group. So essentially, they were pumping and dumping penny stocks and low cap stocks. And they've been charged by the SEC. So that's pending. That's a civil suit, and they've also been charged by the Justice Department. So if they get convicted, I'm talking that's 20+ years, right? Because they were pumping and dumping stocks. Wish was one of the stocks. They were just like they would pump it to their audience, either on Twitter or their Discord server. So they're telling their audience we're buying, but they had already bought before, and they were actually selling. So they were pumping it up to their audience. The stock goes up, they sell, and they're making money that way. I mean, yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's kind of tough being a finance creator on the internet, right? Especially like on TikTok and things like that, because of bad actors. There's so many bad actors because it's so easy to make money that all these people just lose their integrity, and they screw over their audience by pumping and dumping or selling them whatever stupid course or whatever, because usually it's just crap. And that's one of the things that I had to be very careful of, because of that stigma, like it's you have to be kind of careful how you navigate the waters, right? Like I remember like back in 2021, there was NFT projects that were sliding into my DMs just offering thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to promote their stupid NFTs that I knew were just worthless, and I didn't take the money because it just wasn't. It wasn't the ethical thing to do, and I didn't want to screw over my audience. But there were a lot of people who did that, and most people got away with it. They're not gonna get charged by the SEC. The SEC is not gonna go after them.
Kevin got away with it with FTX.
I mean, there's a lot of finance creators that got away with FTX, but that's the other part with it too. Like like FTX was one of those things where everyone thought that they were legit, right? Tom Brady was involved. I remember FTX reached out to me. I almost took their deal. The only reason I didn't take it was because eToro I already did a deal with eToro, and there was an exclusivity clause. So I also have like some, I also feel bad for some of these creators because like FTX is just one of those where it's like, this is supposed to be a legit company. Yeah. But I think it's one of those obvious pump and dumps. Like Floyd Mayweather and Kim Kardashian got fined $1 million, I think, by the SEC because they were pumping some random crypto. And a lot of finance creators did that because they can make quick money doing it. And I think that's what, you have to be really careful being a finance creator, because there's a stigma around, like anytime you promote anything, everyone has their guards up now. even if it's totally legit. I could be talking about opening up a Roth IRA, with Vanguard, and people are like, well, I don't know, this is kind of sketchy. It's like, no, this is like legitimate. This is legitimate stuff you should do. So it's been a little tricky recently, having to navigate those waters.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. I promote real estate, which is like the most legit thing you could invest in,
Right.
and people still are like, no, that's not right. I'm like, bro, it's real estate. Like, where's it going? It's not going anywhere,
Yeah.
And so I totally get it. But, funny thing about FTX is they were in a Mercedes F1. So I support Mercedes F1, and FTX was, caught in that. And I was like, I remember that very day. I don't remember which race it was in which they had to make a decision when they had to remove all the sponsorships on the vehicle. And I was just praying. I was like, what? I hope they remove it and just call it a day. I hope it's not on there, because it's such an embarrassment, right, for a racing team to have that on there. And they got rid of it, and now they have a new sponsor. They have Snapdragon. So Snapdragon is like a software, Android-based software, something instead of FTX, which I thought was pretty decent, pretty safe for them now to move forward with.
Yeah. Snapdragon, they make the chips in those Android phones. So yeah, that's a lot more safe than FTX. But I mean, it wasn't just FTX. Like Crypto.com, are they still a race sponsor? Because I see Crypto.com's ads. I used to see them everywhere last year. So I wonder if that's still happening.
Yeah, I don't think they're everywhere. Now that you talk about it, I do have an account or 2 or 3 accounts, maybe even on some platforms that got shut down. But like on these small, they were all like in cahoots with FTX somehow.
Like Voyager and stuff like that?
Not Voyager. It's a smaller one. And actually it was promoted to be by a YouTuber. So I watched it on this YouTuber guy that I really like, and he was like, "Oh, this platform, use it, whatever, use my code." So I think I used this code. I got $100 or something.
Yeah,
can't remember. And then put some more money into it, and then invested. And then now I think my account balance is 0. I don't even think I'll ever get to touch it.
Yeah, that happened with me with Voyager, because I think I saw Voyager was partnering with the Dallas Mavericks, the publicly traded company. I'm like, oh, seems pretty legit. I think I put in like $5,000, and now I'm probably never going to see it. It's all tied up in court.
Gone, man. It's all gone. The thing is with crypto, it's so scary. For us, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think we lost that much of our net worth or that much money in general. But there's people who lost everything.
Yeah,
and that's like legit scary. It's like, what are you guys on, man? What are you guys smoking? Like, you put everything you had in the most speculative thing, and now you have nothing.
Yeah. I mean, that happened with the .com crash too. A lot of people just got crazy. I think just human beings, we just like to gamble. Yeah. I think people have a lot of people have a gambling tendency, and I think once the numbers go up, like that euphoria of turning 20,000 into 200,000-300,000, it's so hard to for people to sell and just kind of lock in profits. They think that they're seeing millions now.
I don't think you can do that by investing anymore. I really find it very hard to believe that you could take $10,000 and turn it into $1 million just by investing.
I mean, crypto was I think there's some people still doing it with NFTs. I think the NFT world is still kind of crazy. Like I'll still see some random pops in here and there. So I think some people are still doing it with NFTs, but it's a lot tougher now than it was, obviously, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for minimum money invested and maximum return, you need to be in some kind of business. You need to
100%.
Yeah, you need to figure out some type of business, do something.
Not an internet business, ideally, right? Because they have the lowest starting costs
and highest valuations once you exit. Like internet businesses right now, it's just ridiculous. Like, I'm in real estate. Obviously, the valuations are cap based. It's very they're not really going anywhere unless the numbers make sense. But internet businesses are trading at just ridiculous amounts. And I was watching this thing where if you don't have gross profits, look at your EBITDA. If you don't have EBITDA, look at your monthly subscribers. If you don't have monthly subscribers, look at your just email list. There's so many different exit points in a tech business that I feel like anybody can exit at some level.
Yeah, but the multiples are definitely shrinking now with a higher interest rate economy. I think the multiples are definitely getting. It's not as lucrative as it was before, but I still think that if you're trying to start off, an internet business is the way to go, because you can start off with literally $1,000. I mean, I started with 0, right? Yeah. And you can scale it to a 6-7 figure business in 3 to 4 years, which is a short amount of time. So I agree with you. I mean, that's it's the beauty of the internet.
Yeah. So what are you doing right now? Social media is one thing, obviously. I see you all the time on social media. I listen, and I even log into your lives. But what else are you doing? How can we, how can we make money? Mm-hmm. What are your plans? And what are you seeing trends wise as well?
I think trends-wise, I think we're going to see a more shift into B2B short-form content, and I think you're a perfect example of it, right? Like you found a niche in the B2B space, and it's been very good. I think the general population hasn't just really discovered that yet. Everyone's still trying to make, trying to be a guru, whether it's in investing or fitness or whatever. Those are the ones that people still try to get into. I think the next wave is going to be B2B, and I think you can actually make a sustainable business. I think we're going to see a lot of creators kind of realize that the creator economy isn't as lucrative as we thought back in 2021. So we're probably going to see some creators having to, either go back to being a part-time creator and go back to a full-time job, something along those lines. But what I'm excited about is the B2B space. And I think, I've been doing the social media stuff since 2019, finance content, things like that. It's been really fun. But most of my content was geared towards, retail investors, right? So now what I want to do, like I was saying, I have a background in civil engineering. I want to get into the B2B space and make like a media company, kind of like, like Morning Brew. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
So I want to make like a Morning Brew, but for civil engineers. And I think because of I think if you can make good short form content, and these algorithms on all these apps are so good now that they will find the audience that you're looking for, right? If you make decent content, they'll show it to the right audience. And so my thought process moving forward is okay, I have experience in the civil engineering space. I have expertise. I'm a professional civil engineer. Let me see if I can make be the first civil engineering influencer. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's so much opportunity in it, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's, continuing education courses and things like that, and make a whole business around this space. And I think a lot of people are doing it for other B2B verticals like medical. People are doing it for there's so many. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the next 2-3 years.
Okay. And then what do you think about TikTok? Because I think there's something about TikTok that is going to get banned.
Yeah.
What is that?
I mean, look, I think there is a non-zero chance. I think there's at least probably a 20% chance that TikTok gets banned.
Really?
Maybe even this year, right? Because it's owned by a Chinese company, and there's obviously national security concerns with the potential for the CCP to manipulate the algorithm to manipulate the U.S. population, because millions of people watch TikTok every day.
Yeah, apparently it's not the same in China.
It's not the same in China. It's not. I think what happens, though, I don't think that it's going to get banned, though. I think that ultimately what's going to end up happening is they're probably going to have to sell the U.S. version of TikTok. So ByteDance, which is the company that owns TikTok, they're going to have to sell the U.S. version of TikTok to a Microsoft or an Oracle or whatever the case is. And I think that's what the ultimate case is. I don't think they're going to ban it, but there's probably going to be some drama around it, no doubt.
I think Microsoft's a perfect buyer because they want to go up against Google.
See, I thought that, but I honestly thought that was the perfect buyer, but Microsoft, there's a lot of messiness when it comes to owning a social media company, right? When it comes to having to monitor it and things like that. And I don't know if Microsoft wants to get into that, right? If you buy a social media company, you have to deal with all the moderations and all that stuff. I don't know if Microsoft has a brilliant business. They pretty much own OpenAI at this point. Are they really want to get into the mud of trying to navigate social media? I don't think it's going to be them. But I think a company like Oracle or things like that, who are desperate to stay relevant again, might make the move.
So I'm actually, as a backup right now, I'm focusing a little more on YouTube, which is why I was telling you I want to do long form content. I want to do this. I want to do that. Now, obviously, as far as the algo, what I'm noticing is that my professional curated content that I'm filming, editing, and all that is not getting as much attention as just my raw content.
Of course.
If I just do raw content on TikTok, the app,
yeah,
I'm getting way more, the engagement is just 10x.
Right.
And I think that's what they want you to do. And that goes in line with what you kind of said, is that I think the future is going to be more just content.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, we're already seeing it with TikTok. All the professionally produced content doesn't really work as well. Because I think the audience on TikTok wants authenticity. Right, authenticity comes from just picking up your phone and just ranting, or using the green screen effect, and that's what the audience on TikTok wants. But I think that on YouTube it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
The higher, better produced stuff just does better.
So YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and whatever else, all of that stuff loves the higher produced content for sure.
Right.
I'm just noticing, and I've been noticing this recently. I was my stuff was perfect all throughout. Now, over the past 2 months, just beginning of this year, I think I've been noticing that they want more raw.
Yeah.
Or they want you to be in app rather.
Yes.
When you're filming.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how that's ending up working out.
Yeah, I think the more authentic the videos, the better it does on TikTok, but it doesn't seem to matter on Instagram or YouTube. In fact, it's the opposite, like the nice, produced, polished videos. And the reason for that is because like audience expectations, right? The audience on YouTube is so used to seeing well-produced, well-edited videos with good audio, good editing, good graphics. And so when they watch shorts, they're expecting the same level of production. Whereas on TikTok, everyone started off just using their cell phones to make content, and that's how the audience evolved, and that's what they go for. So that's why I think that like if you people repurpose their content all the time. I think it's smart, but it's not going to have the same performance, right? It's just not. And I still think that's why TikTok still drives culture, right? The TikTok is still culture. All the trends happen on TikTok. Yep. I mean, everything new on the internet happens on TikTok just because that's where the majority of people go to be authentic.
Yeah, you're right. Chinese weather balloon or spy balloon, whatever you want to call it. What's going on with that? What's your take on that?
I mean, I feel like this is the kind of stuff that's probably been happening a lot under the radar. China spying on the U.S., the U.S. spying on China. I think I saw a report saying like, yeah, these weather balloons have been popping up a while. So I think this is just like typical, countries just spying on each other, and this one just kind of got a lot of press. I mean, am I like terrified now? I'm like my day-to-day is not being impacted, right? But I think maybe this makes the U.S. take China a little bit more seriously as a threat. I don't really know, but I think
it's some type of conspiracy, like they're trying to hide something, so they're like these balloons all of a sudden pop out of nowhere.
I'm not big on conspiracy theories, but I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's just countries probably spy on each other all the time. The U.S. probably has like 8 balloons in China right now. China probably has like 4 more balloons right now somewhere over the U.S. I just think these countries just spy on each other, and that's just what they do. And this one happened to get caught and got a bunch of media attention, got turned into a meme, and now it's everywhere.
Okay. Well, I mean, makes sense. So the Biden administration actually came out and said that these balloons were internal, as of yesterday or today. It's like they suspect them to be owned by private companies that are tracking weather, that are collecting data and doing some geological
they're weather balloons
scan apparently. So based on the data that they've collected, I think that's maybe a hush way for them to like just make this go away. They're like, okay, you know what? It's time for this to go away. We accomplished what we wanted to. It's done. Let's move on with our life. Okay, let's talk about. So of course we talked about Palantir, and it's something that may interest you. Let's talk about that for a second and I'll tell you why. I invest in Palantir.
Nice.
It's the only stock that I buy. So I'm not diversified at all.
Oh boy.
Okay, and I have a managed portfolio because when I exited, I was like, I don't want to deal with it. You guys deal. You
got a team,
and so I have a managed portfolio, but I also have a little bit of play money, and so that play money has one stock, and it's Palantir, and that's it. So I bought it at 6, sold it at 7.
Nice.
Bought it at 7, sold it at 8. Bought it at 8, sold it at 9, and now I rebought it at 9, and I don't know where it's going.
Yeah. I mean, look, they had their first profitable quarter, right? I think they recently just had their first profitable quarter, which is good news. All these political tensions you're talking about, that's good for Palantir because they sell software to government organizations and things like that. Everyone's talking about AI. I mean, I think Palantir has been working on technology like this for a while as well. So I think the future their future is bright, but I still don't really.
Is it $100 stock?
I don't know, man. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out because of like the fact that they do they create software for spies and government organizations, right? Like that could be a very consistent business. I mean, you talk to some of these or you look at some of these government contractors, like the defense contractors. I mean, they just have a steady flow of income coming in because they're going to get government money, right? So if Palantir ends up in that spot, it's probably going to have consistent reoccurring revenue. And they'll probably continue to grow it if they continue to show the value of their technology. And so I think there's a potential to get, I don't know about $100, but yeah, I could see it 10x, or 5xing again.
Yeah, because I follow this YouTuber, and I want to say he's Russian.
Tom Nash.
Tom Nash.
Yeah, I know Tom.
I follow Tom Nash.
He's big on Palantir.
And he's huge on Palantir. And he's the reason, I don't know, I just get bored and I'm like, you know what? I'm a flex-based guy. I don't really have time for this. If I have $100,000, I'll put it in this one stock and see what happens. It may go, it may not. I don't know,
Yeah.
Now that being said, I want to put in the money, but I just don't know if this is the stock. But if it was, it's only because of Tom Nash.
Oh my God. Yeah. The thing is, Tom Nash, there's like this group of kind of like how Tesla has like their like diehard fans. There's like a group of Palantir YouTubers that all they do is talk about Palantir nonstop. Every single day, there's at least one video about Palantir, and those videos make do a lot of views, and a lot of them have built an audience around just talking about Palantir, and then they pivot into other things. But they started off by just talking about Palantir. I don't know, man. I mean, I just think these like crazy cult stocks are just. I don't know what to think about it. I'm just like, okay, yeah, potentially, but I've never like gotten obsessed with a stock like that.
Yeah, that's not where you're going to put your money.
No, I mean, I'll put some money into it, but I'm not going to like go all in just one stock.
Because if that's kind of what I'm doing, man. I'm like all in just this one stock, just let it ride. If I lose, I lose. If I win, I win.
No, I like that, but I would do that for something like Google or Microsoft, you know, like where like, they're going to be there for a while. You might not make a 10x return, but it's going to be around for a long time. Or maybe something like Disney, if you want a little bit higher return, where it's like a company's going to last another 100 years.
So what's going on with Disney right now?
Well, Bob Iger is back, which is good. I mean, Bob Iger, the legend, the GOAT, one of the greatest CEOs of all time. They're going through a little bit of restructuring. I think the problem is like first of all, Bob Chapek, the previous guy, was a terrible fit for Disney. Like he was, I don't know if you ever saw this guy, but like ever heard him talk. I'm a big Disney stock holder, so I was like following it very closely. Bob Chapek was just like a suit, right? Like this guy looked like he belonged on the board of like General Motors or something, like just a typical suit. And I think the job of Disney CEO it's not just that you're a CEO of one of the biggest organizations in the world, but like there's like this expectation, there's like this magical quality of it that like you have to have as a CEO of Disney. And Chapek just never had it. He was picking fights with talent. He was just causing a mess, and no one really liked working for him. So now Bob Iger is back. There's a couple mistakes that Disney made. They spent way too much money on the streaming business, right? They spent way too much money on Disney Plus. And the streaming business, pretty bad business. Terrible business, actually. You got to spend a lot of money. The audience is churning every single month. It's tough. So I think what Bob Iger is going to do now is he's redoing the organization to like control the spending at Disney, control the spending specifically with streaming, and I think he has like the cachet to pull that off because he's been doing it for so long, and I think like the public markets and investors will give him like the time to like turn it around. Now, some people think that Bob Iger made a huge mistake coming back. It's like Jordan coming back for the Wizards, because like he could have walked away. He's the GOAT. There's no doubt about it. There's like no one's gonna question it. Now he's coming back in a very difficult situation. If he doesn't turn it around, does it like mess up his legacy as like one of the greatest CEOs? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I think it just kind of shows you like how much Iger loves Disney. He didn't have to come back. I mean, his legacy was set, but the fact that he's willing to come back, the fact that he's willing to turn this around when he was done and retired, shows me that like, yeah, he probably has a decent shot. If anyone can do it, it's probably going to be Iger. So I feel pretty good about him.
Yeah, I agree. I think Disney's going to do well, and I think they need to eliminate quite a few things and spend more on like their actual parks now.
Their parks division continues to crush it. Like their parks division is extremely profitable. Now the thing is, they kind of went too crazy with it. Like I was at Disney World back in September. They're nickel and diming everything now, right? And so what Bob Iger did, he's kind of scaled that back a little bit, right? So he's like, we're going to take a little bit of a hit, short-term profitability, but the guests are going to be happier. I think their biggest mistake was they went too crazy with the spending on streaming. Can't really fault them for it because everyone did that. If you look at what Paramount did, if you look at what HBO did, what Netflix did, they just went so crazy with the content, spending so much money on content, and then you realize like your audience like isn't as sticky as you would think. But what Disney has that other streaming services don't have, they have an incredible brand, right? A brand that's been here for 100 years. It's going to be here for 100 years. They have incredible IP. People like from my parents to me to my kids are attached to emotionally, and they have their parks division, right? So they're going to gather all the data that they make, that they're going to gather all the customer data, and they can make a better service for all these individual customers. And I think it's going to be good. I mean, I think over the next 20, 30 years, I mean, Disney's going to continue to do great.
Yeah, the only movies that I watch with my kids is Marvel. I go watch Marvel stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's the only movies that I really like actually go watch. Otherwise, I'm rarely ever in the cinema or outdoors watching movies other than Disney stuff. So I know they have that going for them, and that's pretty loyal.
I mean, yeah, and that like no other company has that, right? No company, not even Netflix, like they don't have any loyalty like that, and that's so hard to find. And I think that's why, like, on the brand alone, I feel pretty bullish on Disney. Obviously, not financial advice, but I just feel like that if I can figure out this like little messy period that they're in right now, I think they're going to be set up well for the future.
Yeah, I agree for sure. So we got Disney opportunity. What do you think about Microsoft? I feel like what do you think about Apple? It's at $151 or $152.
Yeah, I mean, you know what was it still? Are they still at $2 trillion valuation? I mean, look, I think Apple's gotten to the point where their biggest threat isn't any competition. Their biggest threat is antitrust. I think potentially the government can come after them because they've done some really shady stuff, right? I mean, I'm an Apple stan. I own an iPhone, iPad, Mac, MacBook. I mean, you name it. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars buying Apple products. But like they've really, I think, taken advantage of their position. The 30% Apple Store tax. A lot of developers hate that, right? Yeah. They have a closed system for their iPhones. Now it's great for consumers, but like developers, again, they get charged a 30% tax for any app they want to go in the App Store. And so all these moves, like one of the reasons Facebook stock fell is because Apple implemented this privacy feature that wouldn't allow Facebook to track users, and that hurt their ads performance.
And so, believe it or not, that hurt my ads performance.
Everyone's ad performance, exactly.
I advertise for a bunch of things, and that did impact. So we were getting unqualified leads. You know, we just don't know where those leads are going, and we can't track, and then we can't retrack, and it became impossible.
I think Apple did more damage and probably closed more small businesses than any other company in America. Like Apple probably had a worse impact for small businesses than Walmart did back in the day.
But why do you think they did that?
Because they want money.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, they hate Facebook, right? They wanted to crush their competition. I think it was vengeful. They're like, screw you, Mark. And they're just like, so they implemented the change. And now what they're going to do is now if you want to advertise on your iPhone, you have to pay Apple. Before you could pay Facebook. Facebook was the best way to advertise, but now you have to pay Apple. And Apple wants to grow their ad business. And they are. Their ads business continues to grow.
Really?
Yeah, their ads business continues to grow. So it was a pure business, cruel business. And what they did was they're so good at marketing. Apple is a brilliant marketing company. So they were able to like advertise it as, oh, well, we just don't want, other companies to track you. And sure, that's one way of putting it. But what were the effects? It hurt so many small business owners. A lot of the advertisers on Facebook, and I'm not a Facebook stan. Facebook's done a lot of harm as well. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of advertisers on Facebook were small business owners. The laundromat down the road, or like the local grocery store, things like that. All these local businesses would advertise on Facebook very effectively, and all those ads got hurt, and that hurt the businesses of these small business owners. So yeah, Apple 100% had more harm to these small business owners than a lot of big corporations claim that Walmart did. So I think that there's going to be a potential risk that they get investigated by antitrust. Like the Department of Justice will come after them for all these different things. Yeah,
that's why they lobby so hard.
And again, they're so brilliant with their marketing. It's like, oh well, we're here for your privacy, and sure, there's an element of truth to that. But at the end of the day, Apple is trying to beef up their sales because they know how much iPhones they're going to sell every year. They're not going to sell. I mean, it's so much harder to sell another iPhone. Everyone's going to buy. They know what their iPhone numbers are going to be. So where are they going to make their money now? Through services. So through iCloud, through ads, through things like that. And it's working, but I just don't know. Like there's already rumors of like compromises, right? Like the EU is going to force Apple to put a USB-C on their next iPhone, and Apple didn't do it for the longest time. The pure reason for that was because they wanted to make more money from all the Lightning adapters that they would sell, and they made up billions of dollars. Yeah. And now they're going to have to finally cave to government regulation there. So yeah, that's the only thing that I feel about Apple. Well, besides that, I mean, their business is absolutely brilliant. They have a cult following.
Yeah,
people. I will only buy an iPhone. I guaranteed. I'm not going to buy an Android. I'm stuck. And I think that
you're stuck in the whole ecosystem.
I'm stuck in the ecosystem.
You need the iCloud, you need this, you need this to sync with that. The iPad needs to be.
Yeah, and everyone in my family has it. My wife, my parents, my brother, like everyone has an iPad or an iPhone. And so we're not switching.
Yeah. It's funny because coming from Dubai, that was one of the first things that was like a little strange for me because everybody in the Middle East uses an Android.
Of course, yeah.
And you get the best like it's equally
the Samsungs,
as
right?
expensive.
Yeah.
Like you'll get the Samsung. I think when I left Dubai, it was like the S5 or the S4, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that was like the ultimate like phone, like as far as technology. If
Yeah.
you wanted something that was elite, you get this brand. I don't know. I don't even think they sell it here. It's called Vertu.
No, never.
And it was like the elite Android phone, and they were like 10,000 minimum starting price, $10,000 phones. Yeah, they
$10,000.
Yeah, VERTU. I think they went out of business, but it was like the BlackBerry of like
They went out of business selling $10,000 phones.
And dude, if you didn't have a Vertu phone in Dubai, like you couldn't go out. It came to that point. Like how people wear like fake watches or fake jewelry, or people would buy fake phones just to be able to keep up with society in Dubai. It was crazy. And and like I said, $10,000 minimum, and they would go up all the way to like $50,000 for a phone. That's nuts. It was an Android phone, and a very basic type of product. Initially, I think when they launched on a Nokia, like on a Nokia platform.
Okay.
When it wasn't like all touchscreen.
Yeah.
When you still had that little screen and it was numbers and all that. But then later on, they moved on to an Android. And then when I came here, I was an Android guy. I wasn't a Vertu guy. And so when I came here, I was like, what the hell? Why is everyone using iPhones? Like, what's up with that? So I shut off my Samsung. I shut off my BlackBerry. And I bought my first Apple iPhone here. I think it was a mini or something. And then since then, I've just had, and I still have my BlackBerry and I think I have my Android phone as well. And I look at it every now and then. I'm like, damn, this is dead today, man.
Of course.
I'm like, who even thought about this?
So they have that huge network effect. I think the biggest thing to me is like, I think there was a survey done, and if you ask like women like that are like in their 20s, right, they are less likely to date somebody if they have an Android. So the green bubble, blue bubble texting, totally real.
Yeah.
Totally real.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have such a moat that I think as a business, Apple is just one of the best. And there's a reason why Warren Buffett, his biggest holding is Apple.
Apple, yeah.
I mean, I think he keeps buying more. It's just a brilliant business.
Yeah. It's pretty steady. You know where it's going over the next 10 years. It's like keeping money in the bank. And
the other risk besides the government risk is like leadership, right? Like Tim Cook, I think he's like 60, so he's not super old, but like Tim Cook's brilliant. He took over from Steve Jobs. The risk you come into is like, are they going to have a good succession plan in place? Because a bad CEO can ruin any business, can ruin a good business, right? So that's the only other factor. But I think there's another 5-6 years before we have to worry about who the next person is.
Yeah, I think so. So, okay, Apple's in good shape. Google's in. So let's talk about Google one sec. So I actually moved over, back to the ad strategy, right? So because we were getting impacted on Facebook and our ads were going bad, we actually shifted our attention now to Google. And 90% of our ad spend now is on YouTube. And we don't advertise on Facebook or Instagram as much just because we can't get that traction.
Yeah.
And the conversions are very expensive on Facebook in comparison to YouTube. And that's kind of where our ad dollars are going. And I do think that a lot of companies are doing what we're doing because we're obviously following a trend, whatever that trend is.
Right.
And if that is the case, then I don't see Facebook kind of coming back from like, I don't think this, what's it called? The VR thing is happening anytime soon. I don't think people are going to adapt to it. People are more than happy to fly out, do meetings, whatever it is. And so if I'm doing it, I'm sure the whole world is doing it. And I'm sure that's going to reflect on their stock price.
Well, I mean, the thing is, what I've heard is that Facebook's ads are getting much better now because they're not just going to sit there and like, they're going to find out solutions to how to get around all these privacy restrictions that Apple put on. So apparently their ad performance is doing better. So they're bringing a lot more advertising dollars back, more than expected. So they're doing well. But you're right. I mean, yeah, there's definitely, there was a shift towards YouTube ad spending. YouTube had a crazy year, but I think it's starting to taper off again. Like they're missing expectations when it comes to revenue and things like that. I think that also has to do with the fact that we're kind of like in a bit of a, I wouldn't say we're in a recession, but kind of in a slowdown. So like ad spend on YouTube is probably not going to be as high. But I don't know. I still am pretty bullish on Facebook Meta because, dude, Zuck is just, he's a killer, man. Like I mean that like in a business way. Like people give him a hard time because he doesn't have a great personality. But this dude is like, I think he's an incredible businessman.
Dude, he stopped talking about the metaverse for 2 months and see what happened.
And now only that, I mean, I have some friends who work inside of Meta, and they're like, dude, this guy is like clamping down. He's making changes. Like, I think that Zuck is one of the most underrated businessmen right now. It's just because he has a really terrible personality, and because of like some of the bad things that Facebook did. Again, they did bad things when it comes to some of the data and stuff. But I think overall, I think he's an incredible businessman. I think he's going to figure this out. And I think this whole pivot to the metaverse, probably not a great pivot, but I still believe in like the operator that is Zuck. I think he'll figure it out. I think that the stock will be fine. They have 2 billion people using their apps every single day, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's their main app, whether it's Instagram. I think they're going to be fine. I think Google's also going to be fine. Google, I think, is like, I think Google is like the greatest business in the world, right? Like, you go to Google to search up a term, and the first thing they give you is an ad. Like, think about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think Google's going to be fine. I know everyone's worried about AI, and that AI is going to like destroy Google. I think there's probably going to be some disruption, but ultimately, nah, dude. I think behaviors it takes so long for behaviors to change that, like, just because there's an AI ChatGPT version of search coming out, I still think that 99% of the world is just going to go to Google. Yeah. And I actually don't think...
Didn't Google release their AI thing? And
it was a terrible
what was it
release.
Called?
Bard.
Or
something like that.
And I heard it got like one of the questions wrong or something.
It was a terrible release. They rushed it because Bing released what they did. Microsoft released the Bing AI. I think they felt pressure. And there's some like drama right now between Google and internally at Google, because they're saying that Sundar, who is like the CEO of Google, they're saying that, he's not cut out to be what they're framing like is wartime. It's wartime between Microsoft and Google, and that Sundar is not cut out for. He's more of a peacetime CEO. So I don't know if he's going to get replaced, but he's on the hot seat, to use a sports term. He's on the hot seat, and I think there's going to be some more rumblings that, they need to get someone who can like compete with Microsoft and Nadella. I mean, Nadella, my man, that dude is...
That guy's a beast.
That dude is a beast.
Did you see his interview when they were asking about Google and what the ChatGPT implications will be? And he's like, well, Google is the big gorilla in the room now, but we're gonna move the needle and see if they can dance.
He's like, we're gonna make him dance, and like, he's such a boss, man.
Yeah.
And just the way his demeanor, and he took over from Ballmer over a decade ago and just transformed the company. Microsoft went from being like, like a company that a lot of top talent didn't want to work at because they just had so many like, internal political issues and whatnot. And now they're just like this like super exciting. They're not a startup, but they're this super exciting company with like implementing AI, and their cloud division is growing. And I mean, Nadella, man, this man is, he's going to go down as like, top 5 CEOs. Like, what he's done there has been incredible.
Yeah. I call him like the more or the less volatile, basically Elon Musk. Because you're right, man. He's changed so many things, but he's just he doesn't make headlines,
Yeah.
I mean, this ChatGPT thing. Can you imagine if it was Tesla? That part, what that would look like?
Yeah.
It would just be like you scroll and that's all you see, man. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk. This is where he brings a kitchen sink into like ChatGPT somehow.
Yeah. Nadella works in silence, and he still gets results, and like it's brilliant. And I think that's why I'm bullish on all these big tech companies. Except for Amazon. I think Amazon might be in a bit of a trouble. But besides that, I think all these like the big 3, I think, are going to be fine.
So let's talk about social media a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And content creation and all of that. So we've been creating content. We've been, and you've been creating content, obviously. What are the strategies moving forward? Like, how many times are we supposed to be posting? What are you seeing as far? Because obviously you recently met up with a really high caliber influencer that we're not going to talk about right here. But for those of you who may or may not know him, he's based out of New York, or he was based out of New York, and then he moved back and forth. Anyways, point being, okay, so you had an interaction with him, and he told you a couple of pieces that I thought were really valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were, when I was talking to him, I think I was aligned with what he was saying. Was like there was, I think a lot of times, especially on YouTube, you see everyone optimizing for like retention, with like every millisecond edited down to where like you're trying to get the highest watch time possible. And I think what that does is make every content look the same. And I think you see that on TikTok as well. You have like all these like people have like the same looking video because they're all optimizing with like the big text and like the crazy sounds and the cha-ching and like the zooms, and it all starts to look the same because they're all optimizing for retention. And I think there might be a bit of a backlash to that. I think the audience is going to reject that like crazy dopamine filled video, and hopefully, I'm hoping for it because I want to see more creativity again in videos, right? Yeah. I want to see more creativity again on YouTube, whether it's storytelling through vlogs, which is what was my favorite part of YouTube, storytelling through vlogs, whether it's storytelling in different ways. I want to see more of that, and I think we're going to see the audience demand more of that instead of just the OCD level of videos that everyone's just trying to copy Mr. Beast. And Mr. Beast has made a massive company out of it, and he's been very, very successful, but everyone's just trying to copy him. And it's resulted in just not much creativity left on YouTube because everyone's just trying to copy that formula.
Mr. Beast level.
Yeah, everyone's trying to copy
Logan Paul or whatever.
Yeah, everyone's just trying to copy that. So I hope that we see a return of more creativity and storytelling on YouTube and TikTok as well. I think we're seeing it, but I think the audience is just gonna be tired of just this crazy, like I said, crazy editing that we see in all these videos.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Twitter? I'm not active on Twitter, so for everything that I do, the real estate space that I'm in, flex space, whatever it is, there's just not enough flex space people on Twitter, so I avoid Twitter. I have 50 followers or something. Man,
I think Twitter is really interesting. I think Twitter is mostly used as a networking tool. And I met a lot of great people on Twitter, and a lot of marketers hang out there. But I think Twitter has like a lot of sub niches. I think real estate is a very popular sub niche on Twitter. Whether it's multifamily, there's like this sub niche of like people that buy strip malls, and so I think there is a niche on Twitter for each. There's like an audience on Twitter for each sub niche. But ultimately, man, like every time I walk away from Twitter, I feel kind of bad. I'm just like, I'll scroll through. I'm like, why did I just spend 20 minutes just scrolling through this thing? But I still like it as a networking tool. I still like it as just like getting random thoughts out there. Like I'll just like, if I have a funny joke, I'll just like throw it on Twitter. I like it as a research tool. So like, seeing what people are saying about stocks and things like that. Just getting the general vibe of what's going on. But I'm trying to spend less and less time on Twitter because it just doesn't make me feel great every time I walk away from it.
Yeah, you're right. So, like I said, I don't spend too much time on Twitter. There was a point in time when I was just creating like my personal notes, like what I was gonna vlog today about, and I put it on Twitter so that my team could see what was going on and they could kind of capture that and we could create content around it. But I think right now, YouTube, TikTok, and then everything else for me. By the way, Instagram's really hard. Like the algos are just not getting me where I want to get to.
Reels is not as good as TikTok. Their algorithm is not as good as TikTok. I think there is a certain kind of content that works really well on Instagram. Fitness content works great. Comedy content works pretty good on Instagram. But I don't know if any B2B content works.
I almost feel like images are now back.
Yeah, I think images are back. Images are back.
Straight the 100-word content with the typical Instagram content, what it used to be before Reels. I almost feel like that's back, and that's what people are doing.
I feel like the algos have been tweaked a little bit. I'm starting to see a lot more carousels where it's just like 5 or 6 pictures or whatever. I'm starting to see a shift in the algos because I think they pushed Reels really, really hard early on, and it worked. I think Reels has been somewhat successful, but I still don't think the algorithm is nearly as good as TikTok. I also think the YouTube Shorts algorithm isn't very good. Like TikTok still has the best algorithm when it comes to giving you the content that you want, that you like. But all of them are going to get better. I just don't know, at what pace. But yeah, Instagram's tough, man. I've also struggled on Instagram. I haven't found the same level of success.
Yeah, it's just tough. It was 2019 and TikTok. That's what kind of people who got on just made it.
I mean, no, but there's a lot of people who just, like content creation is one of those things where like, if anyone wants to become a content creator, like you have to be very consistent with it. And I met a lot of people from 2019, 2020, and you check in on them now and they're not making content anymore. Cause like the grind of making content is a crazy grind. And like once you have kind of done it and maybe like the dopamines don't hit as much anymore, you just stop doing it. And especially if like, you can't monetize it, like some people like making content is one thing. Monetizing is a totally different skill set, right?
And it's emotionally draining, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So the speaker we had yesterday, hadn't posted in a while because she's like, it's emotionally draining. Like
I haven't posted in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there you go.
I just
Takes
haven't.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like sometimes you just like, man, I don't feel like putting yourself out there. And I think it's important to take breaks. But if you're not, but like honestly, if you're not posting consistently, you have to post consistently. Like that's the thing. You have to be on there all the time.
I also feel like the algos penalize you for that.
Yeah, I think so too.
If you're not posting for 2 weeks or a month or a year or whatever, and you get back on, don't expect those first 20, 30 posts to go anywhere. They want you to really get in the rhythm and then, move forward from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most successful people that I know on social media are very, very consistent on posting. Like, I mean, I'm talking, they have a posting schedule and they do not miss uploads, whether it's once a day, whether it's 4 times a day. Like they're constantly on it. And those are the ones that do the best. But I mean, at some point, man, like that stuff is draining, right? Like it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough for sure. Now, luckily we have a team and hopefully they post consistently. But it is draining, bro. It's like, every day we have to see, okay, what's going out, and is this video edited this way? Did we do this? Did we miss that? What happened? And we miss stuff, and it just runs and it posts and it goes somewhere in the world, and then we have to deal with it on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, I know everyone there's like a meme like, oh, content creators, that's not a real job or whatever, and like. I can definitely understand, like making content is probably a better job than, working a desk job, but there is a lot of work involved with it. And I think a lot of people don't realize on the back end, like the level of effort it takes, not just the research, not just like filming, but yeah, like you got to like be like the 110% of yourself. You can't just bring 100. You got to bring 110% when it comes to like content, especially short form content, because you have such little time to like attract someone's attention that, yeah, I mean, it is very draining.
Yeah, I agree. So just to end this, you have, you're doing short form, you're doing all that. Give me your 10-year plan. What are we looking at in 10 years? Where are you going? Like you said, you wanted to do this engineering thing to niche down. Mm-hmm. Where do you think that's going to take you? Are you still going to be creating content in 10 years?
I hope so, because that's like my favorite thing to do. I love the creating content stuff. I mean, I think one of the things that I've realized is that like trying to turn the content into like a job made it a little bit less fun. So it's my job now, and I love it. It's awesome, but there is a part of it that makes it less fun. The fact that it is my job. So ultimately, what I want to do is get back to making the finance comedy skits my side hustle again. And in order to do that, I need to make a legitimate business around something else, and hopefully have that business be self-sustaining and to the point where like I make enough money from that to where I can just go back to making funny videos, not worry about sponsorships or anything like that. Just like, and that's where I'm the most creative, right? So my 10-year plan is to like learn to take everything I've learned in the last 3 years of making content. I've learned a lot, right? And my first plan is to make a B2B media company using everything that I've learned with short form content, with audience building, newsletters. I've done it all. I've literally done it all, and it's been pretty much me the entire time doing it. I've soaked in a lot of information, gained a lot of skills. So if I can do that for like a B2B media company that I create around civil engineering, that's the short term, the next 12 to 18 months. Now, success is not guaranteed. If that doesn't work out, then I can see myself going back to being a full-time, not a civil engineer, but maybe something in the space where I help a company scale their content, or help a company scale their media strategy and things like that. Because there is a demand for that as well. Because I've learned a lot. I can provide a lot of value. And then that way I can kind of, again, go back to making the finance stuff a side hustle again.
Yeah. And that way it's more fun because it's not forced. Fun. You can say whatever you want. You're not looking for the dollars. Exactly. It's just entertaining. You can say whatever you want.
Exactly.
And you have your opinions, and they're your opinions.
Exactly. So that's like the plan that I have for the next 18 to 24 months. And who knows? Maybe I'll come up with an idea that I can somehow leverage my finance content into a business. But right now the business is just brand deals. Some stuff here or there, but mostly it's just brand deals. And I really don't.
And how do you do those? Walk us through the step of a brand. What are the steps? Do you have a manager, or like how does that work?
Yeah, I do have a manager. Sometimes he'll bring me deals. A lot of times I'm just getting, either DMs or emails from these a company that wants to advertise or promote a certain product or whatever. Usually don't agree to like 90% of them because most of them are just junk. But like a company will reach out to me, and if I like the company, if I like their product, we'll set up We'll set up a call to kind of go over what they want. Like, hey, what are you trying to get out of this? Because one of the things about finance is that, like, especially for short form, a lot of times, if you're scrolling through TikTok, you're not likely to pause your TikTok viewing experience to download a finance app to like set up a Roth IRA. You're not going to do that.
That's too boring.
It's too boring, okay? So a lot of times these companies don't convert very well because you're just not going to. Now, if you're selling a product, those convert very well on TikTok. Because like, if you're selling like some makeup concealer or whatever, because like you can just swipe, click, buy, and then you're back on TikTok in 3 minutes. It's that fast, right? And there's like a dopamine rush of like you buy something, it feels good. I can't wait to get it in the mail. That's not the case when it comes to setting up a Roth IRA or any other financial services. So a lot of these companies don't necessarily convert the best for short form. So you kind of have to have an intro call with them. Like, okay, what are you trying to get out of this? Is it brand awareness? Because that works pretty well with TikTok. Are you trying to convert? Okay, what are your expectations? You set up a level of expectations, and then we kind of go back and forth with rates. How many videos? This is what the rate is. And sometimes they want to use the videos that I make as an ad that they post on for Facebook or whatever the case is. So there's like white labeling fees and things like that. You kind of hash all that out. Sometimes I'll send it to the manager to hash out. Sometimes I'll just do it myself. And and then once that all the contracts are signed, there's like a back and forth when it comes to like send them a script. They approve the script, or they usually have comments. Go back, revise it. Once we get a script approved, I film it. Then the video goes to them for review. They review it. And with finance, there's so much like regulatory stuff. Like, so like their lawyers are looking at it. Oh yeah, well you actually said this. You really can't say that because then we can get in trouble with the SEC. So you got to redo it. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So
tell me about SEC, man.
Yeah. So you probably know a lot about that stuff.
We literally can't move and do anything. It's like if I want to say something about, hey, you want to invest with me, like in those 5 words, there's something that I need to change.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So that makes it tough to, again, tough relatively speaking, but there can be a lot of back and forth when it comes to like, okay, well your script says this, you really can't say it this way. You have to say it like this. So that sometimes can, like, honestly, it can take sometimes 2 months to go from like a brand reaching out to like a video going live, just because of all the back and forth sometimes. Yeah. So that's usually the process.
All right. So you have a 10-year game plan. Hopefully it's still creating content.
Yeah.
But it's doing it as a passion. I tell a lot of people that actually. I recently had someone here who wanted to turn something into a business and it just doesn't make any money. And so we were like, okay, you know what? We need to start a business, make sure you have enough money in the business, and then just do this as a hobby, man.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I ran a performance car shop. So like I love cars, and I was like, oh man, I love cars. I'm gonna start this performance car shop, and I'm gonna make a ton of money and all that. And I realized while I was working on, like, literally with wrenches working on cars, this is a long time ago, that I actually don't enjoy it as much as I thought I did. And this is not the business I want to be in.
Right.
And it doesn't make that much money.
Right.
And it's not scalable.
Right.
And I'm never going to be a millionaire, So then I realized, okay, you know what? Let's figure something out, and then I can just do this as a hobby.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I ended up as well. So I totally get what you're saying, man.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes it so much more fun, and so that's like 10 years is a long time, but 5 years definitely, that's the plan, is to like, I mean, regardless, I've learned so much, and like you learn so much just doing whatever. Like whenever you try something, like you learn so much, and these skills are so valuable. That's the thing, like. These, like, just being comfortable on camera is going to be like one of the most valuable skills moving forward. Because we're going to need more content in the world, right? And if you can do that, then like it's going to help you no matter what line of work you get into. So like, even if you don't want to be a full-time content creator, just learning how to make content is going to help you in all walks of life.
I think a future CEO 10 years down the line will be required to be able to vlog and be comfortable. That's how cool businesses are going to be. Like, you will just, I want to see what this business is doing today. And it'll be something that you'll be able to see. That's what I really think will happen. And so people who have that skill, who've built that skill, who are working on that skill, and eventually get up to that position, are going to be like the ultimate successors. Because today's world is all about information, and there is no such thing as too much information.
Yeah.
I could literally watch Elon Musk walk all day, just figure out what, like, shadow him. You know what I mean? If there was a camera on him 24/7, I would watch that.
100%. Everyone would.
Any other CEO of any company that Palantir, man, Palantir CEO. Alex
Knapp or
Carp.
Yeah.
I'd watch him, bro. That guy's like insane,
Yeah, he's crazy.
Stellar track record, crazy guy. and I'm invested in the stock, for example.
Yeah.
I'd turn on the TV and watch what he's doing. You know, so I do think those skills are important. I do think they're gonna be more and more important as we progress, and I think that's kind of where the world's gonna end up.
I mean, yeah, just look at the CEO of AMC Theaters, right? Like this guy just put himself out there. He's going on every podcast. He's doing Twitter Spaces. Like he embraced the content side, and he saw performance like the people ate it up, and his stock went up. Now it went up a little too much.
Yeah, and he sold.
He did?
I think he did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God.
I'm sure it's gonna come on in some filing later.
yeah, I'm
on.
sure.
It's like, yeah, he sold 3 quarters ago when the stock price hit all-time high. Because even at that time, he was like, "This is not normal, guys. This is not normal."
Right. He kept it real.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. I mean, that's a skill set that you can learn, and the only way to really get good at it. Some people are naturally gifted; they're naturally good on camera, but you can get better just through practice. Just like make content, post it, and just like see what happens. And I mean, yeah. So like I said, that's my goal, and hopefully I'll still be making content because it's just so much fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, hey, listen, thanks for being here today, man.
Totally.
And I know we're neighbors, and I don't think we get to spend enough time, and but really, yeah, thanks for being here, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. This was a great. I mean, the time flew by, man. I didn't realize how long it's been. It's been awesome.